I want you to imagine something for one quick second. You get on a Zoom call with a business owner. You've only exchanged a few DMs, emails, maybe you've talked twice. They're doing 7 figures, maybe 8. They have a real business, real team, thousands of buyers on their list. 30 minutes later, you walk out of that call with control of their buyers list, their $10,000 offer, and a 20 to 50% rev share on every sale you make. You didn't pitch them, you didn't send a proposal deck, you didn't negotiate terms back and forth for 3 weeks. You had a conversation, and by the end of it, they were asking you when you could start. I know that probably sounds insane. It sounds like I'm about to sell you some sort of like magic script or secret NLP closing trick, that some manipulative framework that maybe you run on some unsuspecting business owner. This is the opposite. What I'm about to show you is the least salesy, least manipulative, most genuinely human approach to a partnership conversation you've ever seen. And the reason it works so well, the reason people hand over the keys to their business after 30 short minutes, is precisely because you're not trying to close them. You're trying to understand their world. And when you do that the right way, the deal closes itself. And that's what this video is about. So I call this conversation a coffee date. Coffee's not required, by the way, it's just what we call it in my world. So we call it that because we want you to feel the difference between a coffee date and a sales call. A sales call has an agenda, right? Like someone's trying to get someone else to say yes, there's a pitch coming, and both people know it. A coffee date is 2 people sitting down to see if there's something worth exploring together. That's it. There's no pitch, there's no proposal, no contract. It's just a conversation. So now here is where most people F this up. Before they even get on the call, they assume that because they're trying to help someone sell more stuff, the problem they're solving is you're not selling enough. And that is almost never the actual problem. The people we're talking to, they're already successful. They're already selling plenty. Remember from the last video? We are win-mores, not saviors. We don't work with fixer-uppers. So what is the problem? Well, maybe they know there's money sitting in their list and they just don't have the bandwidth to go after it. Maybe they've been taking extra sales calls that their team can't handle and it's costing them at home, right? Like more time on calls means less time with their family. Maybe they built this incredible back-end offer and the front end is just eating all of their attention. Your job on this call is to find that. Not assume it, but find it. Here's the thing I need you to understand about this call. There's no magic formula for what to say. There's no script. There's no sequence of power questions that's gonna unlock a deal. What there is a way of seeing. Call it putting on your opportunity goggles. You're walking into this conversation looking for one specific thing. Where in their business are people falling through the cracks? Every business has a journey that their customers go through. Someone finds them through an ad, podcast, organic content, whatever. Then something happens. Maybe they buy a low ticket product. Maybe they attend a webinar, they join a challenge. And then at some point, there's a high ticket offer, a program, mastermind, service, the real thing, right? The thing that actually transforms people. And here's what's true for almost every business I've ever looked at. A massive percentage of the people who come in at the low end never make it to the high end. They raise their hand, they spent the money, they still have the problem, and somewhere along the way, the business just stopped talking to them, right? That gap right there is your found money. The entire job you have on this call is to find that gap. Where do people get cold? Where do they fall off? Where does the business owner stop paying attention because they're focusing again on the front end? That's it. That's what you're looking for. So the way you find that gap is something I call breadcrumbing. And the concept's pretty simple. You're just asking over and over, what happens next until you find the drop off? How do people first discover your business? Great. What happens after that? They see an ad, they opt in. Then what? Do they get an email sequence, a webinar invite, a low ticket offer? Okay, they buy the $27 thing. What happens after that? Do they go into a nurture sequence? Do you try to upsell them? Do they get invited to a call? You just keep following the breadcrumbs. What's next? What's next? What's next? At some point, you're going to hit it. The point of diminishing returns. The place where whatever follow-ups they're doing, it just stops working or stops entirely. Like a lot of these business owners will straight up tell you, like, yeah, honestly, after the launch window closes, we kind of just move on to the next thing. Like those people just sit there. Those people just sit there. That's the sentence. That's the sentence you're listening for, because that's the found money. Now, the specific questions I ask, the exact sequence I walk through, how I use what I learned to build the campaign, that's like the full system inside of MDLL. But the concept you need to take away right now from this is you're not pitching on this call. You are following breadcrumbs through someone's business until you find where people are being left behind. And when you find it, you both see it at the same time. Once you found that gap, once you both see it, here's the most important thing I can tell you about what to say next. Do not propose a deal. Propose a test. This is the one thing that makes 7- and 8-figure business owners say yes in 30 minutes. Not because you're smooth, not because you have a great pitch, because you've made the yes so small, so risk-free, so obviously worth trying that saying no would be stranger than saying yes. Here's my philosophy behind it. Like, you don't know if this is gonna work. And I mean that, honestly. Like, you don't. You found what looks like an opportunity. You believe in the approach, but you haven't proven it with this business, this list, this offer. So don't pretend you have. The most powerful thing you can say on this call is some version of, I have no idea if this is gonna work, but I know enough about your business, how great you are at what you do, that I'm willing to put my own time and effort into testing it, if you'll allow me to. That's it. That's the energy. You're not hyping them up, right? You're not telling them you're gonna crush it and put 20 people in their program in the next month. You're just being honest. You found something interesting. You'd like to run a small test, maybe 3 to 5 emails to their list. You'll handle everything. They just keep fulfilling like they normally do. If it works, great. You keep going. If it doesn't work, or if either of you doesn't like how it feels, you part ways, no hard feelings. When you frame it that way, zero risk, zero cost, zero extra work on their end, the only reason they say no is if they genuinely don't trust you. And if you've shown up like a human being, followed the breadcrumbs with genuine curiosity, and demonstrated that you actually understand their business, trust isn't usually the issue. One more thing about this call, and it matters more than most people might realize. Like, you have to show up as a partner, not a service provider, not a vendor, not somebody who's hoping to get hired. I'm very clear about this on every coffee date that I've ever had. When I can tell someone's leaning in, when they're excited about the idea and it's clear they want to move forward, I will actually tell them something that will surprise most people. I'll say, okay, hey, there's a couple things about working with me, you might not love them. And if any of them are deal breakers, totally get it, that's fine. And then I tell them, hey, I'm not looking for a boss. I'm coming in as a partner. And I think we both bring something seriously good to the table. I'm gonna let you see everything that goes out, right? The copy, the emails, all of it, but I'm not looking for copy critiques or marketing advice. What I want is to make sure you're comfortable with how I'm representing your brand, that I'm writing in your voice, that I'm not saying anything that isn't true. You know, obviously I wanna protect you and your reputation, right? At the end of the day, I do need room to do what I do though. So now most people hear that and think, why would you create friction right when they're about to say yes? Because it's not friction, it's respect. You're telling this person before anything starts exactly how you operate. No surprises later, no scope creep, no slow slide into becoming their employee. And here's what actually happens when you say this. They respect you more. Because the people pitching them, the agencies, the freelancers, the consultants, all those people are always trying to please, always saying yes, 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 always accommodating. You're the one person who showed up and said, here's how I work, and here's what I need from you. That right there is a partner, and that's someone they want to build with. The other thing I tell them, and this is important, is I want to make sure they understand I'm not here to get in the way of anything they're already doing. This conversation is only happening because they're already successful. because they're already winning. I'm a win more, and I want to win more with them. So let me zoom out for a second and tell you why all of this works, because from the outside, it looks too simple. A conversation, some questions, a small test, no contracts, no big proposals. It works because of what you're not doing. You're not asking them to trust a stranger with a big commitment. You're asking them to let you try something small. You're not hyping up results you can't guarantee. You're being honest about what you don't know. You're not showing up as someone who needs something from them. You're showing up as someone who found something interesting in their business and is willing to put your own skin in the game to explore it. You're not pitching, you're diagnosing. And when a 7 or 8-figure business owner sits across from someone who genuinely understands their world, who found an opportunity they hadn't fully seen, who's willing to fund a test with their own time and effort, and who isn't asking for a single dollar unless it works, that's when you hear, dude, this is awesome. When can we start? That's not a magic script. That's what happens when you show up like a human being with something real to offer. So here is your action from this video. Go back to the list you made after video 2, or go watch video 2, the businesses you identified as potential partners. Pick one, the one that excites you the most, and start thinking or following their customer journey. How do people find it? What do they buy first? Where does the trail go cold? Put on your opportunity goggles before you ever get on a call for practice and start following the breadcrumbs from the outside. And as always, subscribe to this. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you want the full system, the coffee date framework, the breadcrumbing sequence, all the math that makes your offer look impossible to refuse, and a partner stance playbook, that's all inside of $1 Million List Leverage. There's always going to be a link in the description. I just want you to win.